My name is Richard Epps, and my lesson plan is based on the Alabama Learning Exchange lesson plan for climate change and the carbon cycle. This lesson plan uses place-based learning and the flipped classroom approach and is intended for sixth grade science. These are the 21st century skill objectives that this lesson plan supports. As you can see, it supports several due to the extensive nature of the lesson plan. Here are the objectives from the Alabama Learning Exchange. Using the flipped classroom approach, students will be introduced to topics as homework before coming to class. This homework includes videos, worksheets, and textbook readings. When the students come to class, the teacher reviews the material and checks on learning using the open-ended questioning, peer reviews of worksheets, and student crosstalk. To incorporate place-based learning, students will use Google Earth to explore their community, in this case, the city of Huntsville, and identify sources of greenhouse gases. This allows students to apply the information from the flipped homework assignments and incorporates critical thinking, problem solving, reasoning, analysis, and interpretation skills. As noted, the class is actually divided into groups, and each group will complete the same activity. So as the groups progress through the activities get more and more detailed, and with the final two activities being group presentations of a information board and a 5 to 10 minute presentation. Activity 1 is actually completed as the flipped classroom homework assignment, followed by a review in the classroom the next day, and moving into activity 2, where the students will actually start talking about the carbon cycle, and actually will actually produce a miniature carbon cycle model in their student notebooks and produce a group 2-minute report on the carbon cycle. At the end of that academic day, the teacher would then do another review and then set the conditions for the next class by asking another open-ended question, and then the students would go home and continue their reading on the carbon cycle model, and then the next morning they would come in with another review and go into the carbon cycle role play. In this case, the actual groups actually are divided, the students are divided into 7 groups, where each group is playing a certain portion of the carbon cycle model. As the students kind of work through that carbon cycle model, they learn how molecules are exchanged, carbon molecules are exchanged from different parts of the model itself. And this is culminated with a review at the end of the day, and then bringing the students doing again another flipped classroom assignment, coming back in the next day, and for activity 4, we'll do a lot. They'll build on the research that they did that night, because this day they're actually going to end up writing a letter to the local representatives about their findings. Here is where we bring in the place-based learning, where the students actually use the actual Google Earth to explore that community and identify what the actual greenhouse gas emissions are in their area, and then write a letter to their local representative, explaining what their findings are and what their recommendations are. This brings us to another review at the end of that day, where the teacher again talks about the human role in the carbon cycle and global warming, and then the students actually go and do their final flipped classroom assignment, and they come back into the classroom. And here, activity 5, as I said, they will actually be building their information boards and their 7 to 10 minute presentations, using any one of the electronic tools available to them for this presentation. The only stipulation is whatever means they decide to use to actually build that presentation, so long as the end product can be displayed in the classroom, it can be used. Every student must participate in both of these activities, and the actual activity, the actual presentation will occur following the final day of this exercise, where each group actually presents their work, and then each student will actually do a peer review of the presentations that are not from their own group. So every student will actually end up doing 4 different peer reviews on those other presentations to reinforce those skills. These are the materials that will actually be needed for this lesson plan. Assessment will actually involve formative and summative assessments, as noted here. Because the flipped classroom, this is a flipped classroom, and students are working in groups, formative assessments will be used, are especially important, and will be used to ensure all students are progressing and contributing to group projects. The summative assessments are at the end of each one of the major portions. In this case, we have a summative assessment at the end of lesson activity 5, where the students are actually evaluated, the groups are evaluated on their group presentation information boards, and each student is evaluated on the review of the presentation itself. These are the resources used for this presentation. Are there any questions?